It was the year 2023. Oh, we're still in. Oh, yes, let's go. We're still here. Obviously, we realize it's been a bit of a longer delay. We're very sorry to you guys back at home, but hopefully we have fixed it all together. If you have forgotten where you are in Riyadh. Well, you might not be, but the players are. It's the IESF Asian Championship here at Gamers 8, and we are going to be heading back into the game very soon. Iran, Vietnam, 14-10.
Yeah, and I mean, we were talking about like momentum and this and that, right? I mean, can you really have momentum after like you spent a year in technical timeouts? Probably not, but Vietnam has everything to benefit from this, right? I think they had a bit of a resurgence there at the end. You know, they got that one round, but it's kind of a mental reset on both fronts. And Iran are going to be a little bit unorthodox in approaching this now. Zeron and Dontic, both with that AWP, so they're throwing a bit of a spanner in the works. We'll see.
And obviously they are sacrificing a lot of utility to try and go for this one. Zeron had quite a hot hand before as well, so let's try and see how things will be shaping out here and now. I mean, with the MP9 closing the distance, trying to take in control underneath Ballast, it's not a position that has necessarily been used as much so. Dontic as well was prioritizing default a bit more. A good grenade to go forward from MN. He switched out positions. It's actually going to be down to Frostly in whether he can find Amin or not. There is no cover fire to come through. Amin is trying to jump up and down, will end up falling. High Rambo to take him apart, but in the meanwhile, Rashness and company have rotated back over. It's a full 4-on-4. They have no utility, and it's a double up on a retake. Not a great place to be, especially when you've been smoked off as well.
I'm not sure if they want to go for this, especially with Dontic being taken out of the picture entirely. Jungle has been taken control of as well, so they've found themselves in nooks and crannies that they'll be very difficult to fish out of. Zeron already recognizing that he's probably good to tuck his tail and bow away from this fight.
I'm surprised Rashness is sticking around as long as he is as well. Exit franks aren't worth very much, but also in his defense, I don't think I would remember the economy if I've been disconnected this long. Right, like, no, that's serious. No, you don't really remember what the enemy team loss bonus is like and everything as well. Of course, it's a bit easier to keep that in mind, considering you should know Vietnam only won a single round. But regardless, the ops are kept alive. There's nothing there with them, but even so, investment is being made.
Now this brings me back to the part where we talked about how it's realistically only a couple of gun rounds before Iran actually have to take a knee for a second and wait for their wallets to fatten up again. Zeron, great opener though.
Yeah, the amount of space that he's actually able to get just by getting a 1-0, what is that? Disgusting! Absolutely filthy!
Gets the pixel peek off of the boost, and I think he's about to get the ball rolling again for Iran. They're not expecting Rashness to be that second AWP ready on the phone booth. Frostly and Talon now scratching their heads with both hands, thinking, what the hell just happened?
That is nuts. That is insanity. That is ridiculous. Frostly and Talon have an impossible task at their hands. And the one benefit that they do at least have to take home, you know what? You're going to have a gun round in the next one. You're not going out on a whimper. But with 40 seconds, there's still one objective that you can try and accomplish, and that's killing 3 players. Right, if you can get those 3 frags, hell.
Do they want to save the AWP? Is that what they're going for? Because
I
Talon
hate
just
it.
Yeah, I mean, they've got the money, right? Talon, they've got
to be fair, they do also have only a loss bonus of 2,400.
They have a 2,900 loss bonus.
No, they've won 2 rounds.
Okay.
Yeah, so they've won 2 rounds in a row. You're down to 2,400 as a result of that. So it's actually not that much. It's not really that much better to just die here. You are saving a lot in terms of utility as well. So mathematically, it checks out. I don't hate it.
And obviously, that only works if they actually manage to stay on these weapons, and thankfully for them, they do. But man, that initial 2-piece from Zeron was everything.
Yeah.
That was just him styling on them, flexing on them, and showing them who the top opper is. And now no lifelines remaining for Vietnam. I mean, in the grand scheme of the tournament, yes, but Iran, they've got so much pressure. Vietnam, they're one round away from dropping this to Iran.
All 5 Vietnamese players are actually sitting in middle. They do not want to try and contend the extremities at all. That's been a bit of a theme, actually, from both the Southeast Asian teams. But to take away from that for a second, they are relying purely on the trade game. And going up against a double op, that's not a terrible idea, but it's very hard to pull off. You need everyone to be very sharp and in great position, so there's no real gap for retreat. Now, the good thing is that they should realize the CTs don't have the most flashes in the world at this point. Just the bad thing is you're trying to walk out of a smoke. Hatred will get the trade. That should never have been allowed. Zeron had the window to back off, and now onto the B-bomb site they go. MN is down. The second man still left waiting. Rashness in his AWP is right underneath, missing out one. The bomb is going to be able to go through its own Molotov, and High Rambo getting another crucial frag. Keeps them alive. Molotov to try and differentiate away from the apartments player, and Hatred has found yet another. Rashness all alone, a 1-on-2. He's won clutch after clutch, but this one seems impossible.
He knows that it's just not worth it. He's gotten the double kill, yes. And he might actually go for it if he gets that first kill. Okay, Rashness, the clutch gears are turning once again, and he wants to try and go for this. The time is ticked down pretty far, though. High Rambo needs to be very, very careful about this. If he gives up anything, a sliver of an elbow, it could be GG right here. Now, High Rambo spots him, thinks that he might still be sticking it, but Rashness will finally fall. The clutch monster has been brought to his knees.
Man, and that is also the economy taking a knee right now. Worst possible time. Remember, you're not going to have an op in the next round either. I think MN can drop one, but that'll be just completely sacrificing his utility for it. They're buying? What?
Okay. What?
They're trying to go for a better gun round later on. I understand. I do. But this buy has so little chance of success, especially with the stack, or rather lack of stack that they are going for. A few shots popped out, but Dantic will fall. Cage is happy to add another into the graveyard. It's largely populated by blue bodies.
Yeah, they just peek one after the other as well. Even within that Deagle round, they don't have any cohesion whatsoever. They don't have a game plan, just trying to win off of pot shots. Now, that's a nice little shot from MN to add to the tally, but nothing that's actually going to be impactful in the grand scheme of things. Now, this is a dangerous game they're playing, because we've seen this happen before. We've seen Mongolia get confident. We've seen them start to allow that comeback to come through, right? And I think Iran might fall victim to that same thing. But the problem is, if this goes to overtime, I'm really worried, because Vietnam will potentially get to play the CT side again.
You know why I'm so tilted about the fact that Iran bought into the previous round? They needed a double eco. They're not going to have an offer as Iran.
And he's been the big difference maker, right?
Forget the difference maker. He is their CT side.
Not sure how Danta gets away with that, but I'm sure that's not really going to amount to much.
You'd hope so. Vietnam doesn't want to go down this way.
Yeah, against USPs, that would be, more than anything, it's just embarrassing.
If Rashness can find another kill over here, that would have been quite nice, because that meant that he could have actually purchased the op. Hell, you probably want to throw the MAC-10 over to Zeron, though. But no, the only way you get the op is if Dantic gets one more kill. Even if MN gets a frag, he'll be able to buy it, I suppose, but that'll be him without armor in that scenario. MN can't get it done, neither can Dantic. They will not have an AWP in the last round of regulation. They will not have Zeron on his preferred weapon. This is a... I cannot begin to stress how poor of an economic decision this is for Iran to have completely forced bought. One of their players even bought a FAMAS. He had money. He could have gone for the Deagle Kevlar. He bought a FAMAS. No one wants to buy a FAMAS.
Final chance for Iran to close it out in regulation tea time. See how they play this one out. Very kind of a forward setup towards ramp where they want to take the duels head on. They realize that they don't have a lot of utility, so they want to make sure that they can fight those gunfights early on. But Vietnam, they're getting ready for an A-site execute.
And in they go. Double on the balance though.
Oh.
Dantic is good for one. He's faded away the second as well. Dantic might be the win condition. He's still hitting it. He's still going. Dantic is getting it all. USB out as well. But Amin, the shut it down. 16, 14, Zeron. Who says Dantic?
Beautiful work being done by Daunting there. That double under palace setup not even needing to be fully capitalized upon. It is just Daunting to get it done all by his lonesome. 16 to 14, and man, that resurgence could not have come any sooner, right? That was actually a dire situation for them to be in.
Dantic had a few really good moments from default. He had some great holes on the A-bomb side. It looked like he was trying to set up to be more of the anchor style play as well. But then later on, we saw Emin actually rotating over from the B-bomb side and taking that position away from him. Here in that last round, Dantic delivers. I mean, I can't even believe the fact that he is set up to die. Right? He is literally standing there to die. He gets a triple kill. This is like back in old mouse sports back in 2016. Cobblestone and Nico would be sent to fake B and he'd just get 4 kills.
I mean, everything was stacked against them, right? In that final round, they had to play the forward ramp position as well initially because they're trying to bring the gunfights to them. Even when they go conservatively, they still have to go for the gamble setup where they send out a player from underpass just for him to die, just so that second player is left unchecked, and they had absolutely no utility to fight back with. They only had rifles, and it was just Dauntic's firepower that is able to bring them across the finish line. You know, that bead of sweat on Zeron's forehead, right? When he doesn't have that AWP, that quickly dries up as soon as he sees the 16 on the scoreboard. Incredibly well played, but man, Iran really let it cut very, very close.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you're saying Iran let it get close. The fact that Vietnam even allowed the comeback in the first place is insane to me. Vietnam is now going to be 2-1. Iran is 1-2. And as a reminder, again, if they go up against Saudi Arabia in the head-to-head, I think that they could match up pretty well as far as round difference is concerned. That is something I'm going to have to go back and check. I'm going to let you guys know in the next game as well. But you've got India coming up next. Iran is looking very, very good individually. Right, India's already eliminated, right? They are guaranteed out. They cannot, there is no mathematical circumstance where they can actually qualify anymore.
No,
So,
not with any rounds.
not with
nothing.
any round difference. There's no achievable outcome where India can qualify, right? So, with that being said, I'm wildly worried. I'm actually very concerned for the Saudi team. We're going to have to get back to you guys on the numbers on that in just a bit as well. But before that, any thoughts about Vietnam? Obviously, getting it their way back to 16-14 is very impressive in the first place.
Yeah, the fact that Vietnam have made it to this match, to Iran, with basically a very, very convincing set of round scores so far, that obviously was very scary, right? And for Iran to sort of head into this mystery dark horse where there's not a lot of data about the team as well, that was scary. But they're able to pull it together. They're able to get the comeback on the CT side as well. And you know what? That's impressive. When the odds are stacked against you, Iran have gotten it done, but it's not over. It's not over in terms of having to put in the effort just yet, because they still need another game to get to that qualification.
And as far as Vietnam is concerned, I do believe that they are almost guaranteed because they had a few pretty high round difference games earlier on as well. They should be in the top 3 regardless of whatever happens, because I'm taking a look at it right now. Vietnam was plus 14 before this one, and this was a very close game, so you're still going to be plus 12, 2-1. Saudi Arabia is minus 12. Iran after this game is probably going to end up being in the minus 19 camp, and then you're going up against India. So you need to beat India if you are Iran in a 16-8 or better to actually qualify through. Again, I'm not 100% sure on this because round difference maths is not my kind of maths. You know, give me some statistics, I'm good. But I do believe that should be the situation that Iran finds themselves in. Vietnam is safe regardless. They should still be the second seed, but obviously that's something that we're going to be finding out about later on today as well.
Yeah, and with like India basically being out of the tournament, right? There's no incentive for them to actually like play in that final match with basically any force whatsoever. When you can't win on the round difference, you can't win in the raw number of matches. What are you exactly playing for? What you're playing for is really just to lick your wounds, right?
Yeah.
And
you're playing for numbers at that point. You're playing for individual prowess and hoping that hey, what you say, it's quite literally, yo, my frag movie, let's go, right? That's quite honestly, it's a LAN experience, it's a frag movie, and it's the honor of playing for your country, yes, but obviously that's not the same as being able to get to the playoffs.
Yeah, they're not really competing for a prize anymore, right?
Yep.
It is literally just a game that is about honor, it's about themselves at that point.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Any prizes they get are in spirit.
Of course, and with that makes Group B Group A rather incredibly interesting, because now we've got two teams that are very much in contention between Saudi Arabia as well as Iran. We've also got a potential of actually Vietnam getting knocked down to the third seed. I'm not 100% sure about what kind of match we need for that one, but it's absolutely possible. So I'm going to be looking forward towards this. Now, obviously, Group B is also where we have to be taking our eyes to. Up next, I believe we've got Australia versus Mongolia, which should be the Titans of Asia going up against each other pretty soon.
Oh yeah, that is going to be an incredibly interesting matchup, because, you know, heading into these matches, we really thought that the sort of the brand value or the face value of Australia was going to be really high, right? And when you've got the likes of Hats playing in the team, when you've got the likes of Licky playing in the team, you're expecting this team to dominate, but that really hasn't been the case at all. In fact, it's mostly been a Mongolia show as far as domination is concerned, right?
Yeah.
So I'm kind of worried for Australia right now.
Yeah.
And they're 1-2.
They're 1-2 right now. Australia is not in a good place. Now, fortunately for them, round difference and everything means that they are most likely to be the team that qualifies regardless. Palestine and Pakistan have both had some pretty gargantuan losses, so it's not going to be the best of places to be in. If this could still be a 1-3 tie for three teams. But with that being said, the round difference just makes it so Australia should be taking the lead regardless of what happens. I think Palestine could maybe overtake them, but I don't think there's really a world where Pakistan still has a chance.
Yeah, it's not really looking like it. It's not looking possible. And obviously, you know, Pakistan, having lost out on the matches that they needed to, they're once again put on the... I mean, I think you and I were trying to do the math on whether or not there was any mathematical scenario where India or Pakistan could qualify. And I think the only conditions where Pakistan could qualify was if one of the teams that they had lost to also lost 16-2 or 3 or something.
No,
right?
I think Pakistan can't qualify even that.
At all. Like, not even with a 16-0.
I'm not 100% on that one. We're going to do the maths again. Listen, this is what our break is, right? Like, I've got my notebook with me over here. I just opened this up. I've got a calculator in my backpack. I'm here. I was high for the maths. I wasn't high for the casting. That was just a bonus that came with it. So, yeah, we're going to be breaking down all the possibilities, figuring out what's going to be going on over there in that break as well. But let's take a look at the Group A standings before we actually send it back over to that break.
Yeah, Uzbekistan leading. They've not had a single loss yet. They were the Titans in their own qualifier. They were able to beat out Kazakhstan to make it here. And here they are, continuing to dominate entirely now. Vietnam, this is where they finally suffered a loss. It's not being reflected on the scoreboard just yet. But Iran, they finally gotten a win on the board. Kingdom of Saudi Arabia on the third, and of course India. They've had the worst hand in this Group A. Not the worst hand, just the worst performance.
Also, I have to say the round difference written in the square brackets in the box over here, that's not a thing. That's not round difference. That's just like the game difference. That's
that is a
win and losses record. But let's take a look at Group B as well. Obviously, we talked a lot about that. Palestine, Pakistan, both down towards the bottom of it all. Pakistan is 1-3. They lost out to Mongolia in a very one-sided manner earlier on as well. Palestine 1-2. Australia 1-2. Both of these teams have a match left apiece. Palestine has to be going up against Indonesia, and Australia versus Mongolia. Both will be incredibly difficult matchups for these guys, but there is still a chance for Palestine to actually squeak through, because I'm projecting Australia to lose to Mongolia. Palestine versus Indonesia is a much more of a up-in-the-air matchup.
Yeah, so we're basically looking at potentially seeing Australia, and so in the best case scenario for both of these teams, right, they both win their games and then they qualify on the basis of round difference, right?
I mean, no, Palestine can just qualify straight up, because if Palestine wins one and then Mongolia sort of loses one out, Mongolia beats Australia as well, then Palestine's on 2 wins, and then Australia's on 1 win.
No, I'm talking about like the best case scenario where both teams actually end up beating their respective opponents. Then they're down to the tie, right?
Then it's down
because
to
they're both 2 and 2 then.
Yes, then it's down to a round difference situation, which I do think that Australia should be edging them out on over, even if it's a head-to-head that's used to decide the tiebreaker. We're assuming it's round difference. There's probably a couple of other mechanics that come into play as well, but even in a head-to-head situation, Australia did beat Palestine pretty handily, so that is that. We're going to have the interview with the winning team as well in just a bit, but before that, I do want to quickly discuss the idea of the Group B that we were just sort of bringing up over there. Group B, Palestine to go through potentially over Australia, that's a legitimate possibility that we have to consider. That's insane in like an Asian Championship context, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. But of course, we do have the interview lined up as well. So, I mean, we can talk about that a little bit, especially before and after the next match. But what we've got right now is a wonderful interview lined up with the winners who are fighting it out for their lives in this tournament.
حياكم الله جميعا اعزائنا الحضور ومشاهدينا الكرام. مثل ما شفنا في المباراة الماضية قدر منتخب ايران انه يفوز ويثبت سيطرته في هذه المواجهة. فعندنا احد الابطال اللاعب زيرون حابين نسأله كيف كانت المواجهة وكيف شعوره بعد ما فاز في هذه المباراة.
يعطيك العافية وجي, and congratulations. I'm sure you're feeling great, but let's hear it from you. How do you feel?
I'm feeling really good right now because we've been having problems with closing games out. Our last 2 games against Saudi and Uzbekistan, we were leading, but then we just kind of choked, couldn't close it out. But this time, we were up 14-10, but this time it was different. We could close it out. Feeling really good because it was our first win as well. So yeah.
Amazing, feeling good, confident. ولا ايش رايك يا وجيه؟
اكيد شفنا الثقة وشفنا المستوى، ولكن انا حاب اسأله سؤال بخصوص لما شفنا في بداية المواجهة كانت النتيجة متقاربة، ولكن في نهاية المباريات لاحظنا ان اختلف المستوى وشفناهم اخذوا المباراة بشكل اقوى يعني مما كانوا عليه.
Exactly, it's so true. I mean, so the question goes like, so in the beginning it was a close match, but then you guys actually won the match at the very end. So what do you think was the main reason for winning this match?
I think we just stick together. We trusted our strats that we had from before. At the start, they were playing really good, especially on mid. It was hard to get on sides. But yeah, we just like slowed it down a little bit, stick together, and managed to win. But yeah, they played a really good game. They'll play to them.
It was a pretty good game, definitely. وجيه شفنا اللي شفناه صراحة. It was an amazing game.
أكيد. طيب طالما أنك سألت هذا السؤال يا براء، أنا حاب أسأل سؤال أخير بالنسبة لهم. كيف تجهيزاتهم للمباراة الجاية، بالذات أنه بتكون عندهم مباراة اليوم في الستيج في هذا اليوم.
All right, we won this match. Any surprises for the next one?
I think we're feeling pretty confident for next one. I think yeah, it's against India. Yeah, we're feeling really good. Just have to stick to our plans. Don't change anything. And yeah.
Keep going, keep the confidence on. But before we even pass it on, any last words to family and friends back home?
Can I say it in Persian?
Sure, go for it.
Okay. Where's the camera?
The camera's right there.
Oh, alright. آقا دمتون گرم، مرسی که اینقدر انرژی دادید. خیلی خوشحالم که یه بخش کوچیکش رو تونستیم بهتون برگردونیم. مرسی از همتون. امیدوارم که گیم بعدی هم همینجوری بتونیم ببریم.
Well, very much sounding confident here. I'm sure they're going to be happy back home and you're going to pretty much raise the flag later on in your next win. فوجيه أعتقد خلاص it's time for a little break.
صراحة شفنا المواجهة مثل ما قلنا، فزي ما قال تجهيزاتهم للمباراة الجاية أكيد بتكون قوية. فأعزائي المشاهدين خلونا ناخذ بريك بسيط، بعدين نرجع لكم في المباراة الجاية.
A little break and we'll be back for more. Taken right here with the Asian Championship with IESF at Gamers 8.
حياكم الله جميعا اعزائنا الحضور ومشاهدينا الكرام في كل مكان. والان بتكون عندنا المواجهه الرابعه لهذا اليوم، وشفنا المواجهات اللي ماضيه قديش كانت حماسيه وممتعه ايضا من اداء اللاعبين باكملهم والمنتخبات، فالان بتكون عندنا المباراه الرابعه.
يعطيك العافية وجيه. You are absolutely right. Well, taking place here, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be another hype match for CSGO taking place right here at Gamers 8 IESF Asian Championship. فوجيه جاهز؟
عن نفسي جاهز صراحة.
نتوكل عليه. And now we're going to call in the first team, ladies and gentlemen. Let's hear it for Australia.
تحية قوية لمنتخب أستراليا. عرفنا المنتخب في هذه المواجهة اللي هو المنتخب الأول منتخب استراليا، ولكن حابين نتعرف على اللي ضدهم. تحية قوية لمنتخب منغوليا.
And ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for their competitors now. Let's hear it for Mongolia.
المباراة بتكون أكثر من رائعة بكامل تجهيزاتهم من المنتخبين. أتمنى لهم كامل التوفيق. أعزائي المشاهدين ما نستغني عن تصويتكم في هذه المباراة، ولكن خلونا نروح لأخواني المعلقين عشان نبدأ فيها المباراة.
يعطيك العافية وجيه. And ladies and gentlemen, it's Australia going against Mongolia right here in Saudi Arabia, Riyadh. Who's gonna make it? We'll be seeing that in this hype match. And now we're gonna pass it on to our phenomenal casters. Take it away.
The Titans of Asia, it is finally time. Australia and Mongolia, every single major cycle comes down to these two regions for the past three majors. It seems like it's been forever at this point onwards. This is some fantastic Counter-Strike that's about to be played, and I can't wait to witness it in the server.
Absolutely. I mean, especially with Mongolia being the Titan that has been swallowing up team after team, Australia is looking like their next victim, right? They were the ones that have decimated Pakistan. They've had a couple other teams in the mix as well. They have, any competition you thought they might have faced, they have completely annihilated them. For a second there, Indonesia kind of looked like they were going to be able to fight back, but even that was off of the back of just overconfidence and mistakes being thrown out willy-nilly by Mongolia. But you know for a fact that when they're in the driver's seat, when they're feeling good, and when they know that they have to try hard, nobody's really been real competition for them. And that's been one of the toughest things for both Team Pakistan and now for Team Australia to face. Pakistan, their do or die was against the best team. And that's the same case now for Team Australia, fighting for their life against the best team in the bracket.
And in case I need to remind you guys, obviously we ran through this before as well. Australia and Palestine are both now in contention for going through. It could come down to round difference, but if Australia loses over here and Palestine can win their next game, it is most certainly going to be Palestine to go forward. And that would be a sad state of affairs for a country that has continually been representing Asia at the highest level. You would really hope that they can actually make it forward as well. But the idea that even right now they are battling it out to be number 3, not number 2, not number 1, number 3. That's insane to me.
Yeah, and it's almost feeling like it's unacceptable, right? Team Australia, I mean, I hate to harp on this point, right? But just the brand of Team Australia heading into this tournament, that was one of the most scary prospects. And I remember, I was talking to the Team Pakistan boys, and they were like, okay, if we can beat Team Australia, we're going to have all the confidence in the world because they're one of the hardest teams to beat here, and then we should be able to clean house. They beat Australia, but then they didn't beat anybody else. So Australia's yardstick is looking terrible right now.
No, I completely agree with you. Australia has just not quite been the same team that we thought it would. These have not been the players that maybe we expected as well. They're obviously not from the top team from Australia these past few years, which has been Greyhound. So I'm very curious about whether they even make it forward at this point, because going up against Mongolia, I see little to no hope in their future that they can actually make it through. And we've actually got that Australian roster to walk you through. Some of these names you will be more familiar than others. Savage and Hats coming through from years gone by, but Foggers, Gump and Licky are definitely a little bit newer to the scene.
Yeah, and they're newer to the scene, right? But it's not like they haven't started to already build a name for themselves. I mean, Licky, he's the top-rated player in Australia in terms of ELO. I mean, I know that you don't put too much credit in that, right? But that is still something to write home about, and he has been playing in quite a few rosters. He's had some incredible performances, and honestly, you can't really solo carry yourself to number 1 unless you've got a lot of individual prowess, whichever way you cut it. Gump, interestingly enough, we were talking about the dynamic that he had in between with Team India, because Gump actually plays in an Indian roster called Revenant India, so he's like sort of reuniting with the Australian lads to be able to play in the national lineup. So we actually had a situation for a second where he could have potentially been playing against his main team because he'd be playing against Team India, but that never happened.
So what you're saying is Gump is India's last hope?
Basically.
Well, there you go. But you know who has a lot of hopes? It's Mongolia. And those hopes come through in the form of Yami. They come through in the form of Senzu. These two young ones have just been storming forward. Indonesia was demolished by them on an individual level, but how can we even forget any of the other experience coming in? Kaz, maybe a little bit less so, but Nine and Bartek were just still looking stunning in every single role situation that they took on for themselves.
Yeah, it's really hard to point out anyone that was really struggling on the Mongolian squad, because even the players that were, they had these signs of life come through. Like, for example, I remember that Kaz was getting particularly punished, right? Every time he grabbed that AWP, just the orbital cannon with the nades over towards Fallen. He had so many times where he was feeling super, super pressured, but it didn't really matter in the end because his teammates were there to pick up the slack. And there were a couple times over towards Banana as well when they were playing against Indonesia where they were able to, he was able to single-handedly stop that offense, even though he didn't really have too many kills in the grand scheme of things. So it hasn't mattered so far, and I don't think it'll matter now with how good the form on Mongolia is looking.
Well, slack is a word that I do want to pick up on that you sort of ran with over there, because Mongolia was caught slacking a few times versus Indonesia. And the idea that they are now coming through with even more wins, I believe that they are now 3-0. If I'm not wrong, this could be their last game of the day.
Yeah.
And they're number one. Right,
Yeah.
they're firm. There is literally nothing for them to play for right now other than to smash some Australians. And listen, as the #1 rival for their region these past few years, I think that's a good motivator. Don't get me wrong, that's pretty good. If you want to go out and say, we didn't even send our best team and we still demolished you, right? That's a good message to send. But at the same time, we saw them kicking back versus Indonesia. We saw them chilling. We saw them having fun, just playing around a little bit, getting to feel themselves. I don't know if that's going to continue forward, but let's quickly take a look at the video as well and see actually where the arena will be facing out into. Okay.
I am actually super hype about that. You know, we've just been seeing Inferno and Mirage one after the other, but here we are. We finally have two teams that don't want to go to the default map picks, okay? They don't want to load into Inferno and Mirage like they're testing their FPS on an empty map. No, they want to take it all the way to Nuke, and you know, we're finally going to see some variety in the sort of gameplay that we've seen, because let's be honest, Mirage and Inferno, they've been getting kind of stale tea time.
It's also just very good for them to go for the Nuke because they have an op mismatch. There's actually not a primary opper on the Team Australia side. I managed to get in touch with the captain for Vertex Brace. He was mentioning to me that there's a few players who've played around with being hybrids, but there are not too many primaries. And you're going up against Yami, who, as we just saw, to quote for us, blew past 40 frags versus Indonesia. So you probably don't want to be going up against a 40 fragging opper on an op-heavy map. So I do like the fact that that Australia ended up banning out some of the Inferno Mirage combinations that could pop through. Plus, you know what? Mongolia, relatively unpracticed Nuke, pretty damn hard map to play. It's a stretch. It's a stretch, but maybe there's a window.
Yeah, obviously in this kind of situation, you're kind of just trying to look at the potential win conditions, right? And yes, the window is there, but here we are, loading straight into Nuke for Australia versus Mongolia. Australia have everything to play for, and Mongolia, they're playing for style points. They are playing to crush their rivals, if nothing else.
Look at that knife round. Wow. Going to be able to start off on the CT side as well.
Oh, this is rough. Like, knowing that you've got the disadvantage in terms of like your standings in the tournament.
I'm actually really excited for seeing who between Senzu and Bartek will be playing the ramp position, because both of these players have actually picked that up on their own terms. Senzu has had a lot of really bad issues on NKT when he was playing there, because he was so telegraphed. He took the exact same spot again and again, while Bartek has the opposite issue, which is that he has actually a very good variety of places where he plays from, but his firepower can sometimes be lacking. And when there's a ramp rush coming in, you need that firepower. So I'm really curious about what we're going to be seeing and who's actually going to be taking that particular position and how important it is on Nuke.
Pissed around underway, Team Australia heading straight into ramp 9. You were talking about who's going to play that ramp up front. Kaz does try to chime in with his pistol, but it's been an all-Australia show, at least being able to reel the numbers in a little bit. Bartek makes it a palatable spot for them. Well, not really palatable, but salvageable is what I would say. Licky interrupted on the bomb plant, trying to swing out. Bartek now left in a 1 versus 2, which is very doable with how little HP Licky has. Swinging out, there it is. Missed shots, and that window of opportunity was shot in his face. Australia with the first.
They're going to need a few more of those, and more importantly, they need to make sure that Mongolia doesn't just win the first play. Right, that's one of the big things that we saw versus Indonesia, that the first pistol round was won in a 1v3. The second one was lost, but then they promptly won the force buy as well. Australia needs to capitalize. And look, they are definitely a team with players who are having more experience on LAN, with players who are more experienced in sort of these on-the-fly, hey, things aren't working out, what do we adjust moments? So I'm looking forward to seeing what exactly can be coming out from them in that department. Savage, a player we didn't really talk that much about. He's an older school player, but his mechanics are still very much on point. I think everyone, even within the domestic community, would respect that and sort of give it up to him in how good he has been just on a level of getting the shot to the head. Sometimes could be questions outside of that, just in terms of decision making and whatnot, but as far as getting the shot in, there's no one like him.
Mongolia trying to fight back a little bit. Some pot shots from Senzu do connect. And with Causes 5-7 making quick work of Hats, this is actually kind of a doable round. Now, Senzu and Causes HP, nothing to write home about. Foggers, though, has his eyes trained on this fence position to make sure nobody transgresses this. But Australia, they should be able to keep this clean. Mongolia wanting to stick around just to try and get some exit frags. It isn't going to do anything, but Australia at least have this round under lock.
Foggers is obviously one of the players who got caught up in the ESEC ban wave for Australia. I think he's recently been unbanned as well, so he will be making a return to competition. I'm sure he's got a lot of to pick up from, you know, days gone by that he wasn't quite able to really get much out of. Very important kill for Bartek, to be honest. That's just an extra $600 to go his way. The MAC-10 is fantastic at getting exits.
Of course, the force buy means that Mongolia are going to have to give up a bit of a throwaway round this time around. The only real piece of negotiation they have is this Max 7 that's going to be playing on top of the hut. Narrowly avoiding the Molotov by standing in the corner, so he's got the awareness for that. But a slower play from Australia, just slowly clearing out these angles, getting ready for a potential A-pop.
And Pop's going to be meeting out a USB, the Max 7 a little bit further away. Yami from up top, unable to find the kill. Senzu, however, can capitalize on damage dealt earlier on. Australia has slowed things down a little bit more there, considering going back to ramp, but Bartek's Deagle will drop the bomb, and it's out in the open. Nine's got a real chance of a hey if he can find a backstab, but he peeks out a bit too soon. And that premature peek is going to end up being punished. Nine, however, he's got something else on his mind. There is a weapon in front of him. The Galil recovered and retrieved. He could look to save, but it all comes down to what Senzu and Bartek can actually get done with these Deagles. First and foremost, so where is Australia off to?
Ooh, good collection from Senzu. And bear in mind, this is not a round that they were really supposed to argue with.
And not even really Kevlar bot for most of these players.
Yeah, and the two players that did have Kevlar, they've managed to survive. Despite the fact that the biggest investment was taken out early, the Max 7, they are still looking to thrive in this round. 15 seconds remaining. Bartek is going to be everything as they start to creep in, fully expecting it. The second shot doesn't hit, but surely there isn't enough time. Bomb recovered, 4 seconds to go. Desperately trying to get the plant down. Hats actually does it, but surely he can't swing out of the smoke and still get it done. There it is, first skill. Such a narrow window of opportunity, and Hats quickly tucks himself away into the double doors. He still has an opportunity here. Senzu, quick tap on the bomb, should persuade him to swing out. Hats now one to go for it, wants to try and deny it, and just isn't convinced that Senzu would actually stick it.
He also didn't really have time, to be perfectly fair as well, and I think Senzu having the kit was also something that threw him off. He's not expecting all of those factors coming into it. Senzu should not have a kit there, right? You're just thinking, there's a guy with the USB, there's a few players like Kevlar. there's not going to be a kill on the other side. So Hats thought he had time as a result of that. But Senzu, that extra $400 goes a long way, and it goes a long way in making sure that Australia are made nervous and brought down to the knees early. Foggers tagged up, 30 HP is all he's got left, but he will escape for now, but it has been a lot of damage between him and Licky already dealt, and now with just the 2 HP, he is thanking his lucky star that he survived. That survival, though, will end up falling. He wasn't even able to spot out an enemy player before he dies. Oh, Senzu's got the angle advantage. You see the top of the dome. From that spot, Gump not quite ready. And Senzu will be knocking him down. Bartek, the boost up is perfectly timed. They're not going to be expecting it this late into the round. Hats is a goner already. The question is, how many can Bartek find? Good for 1, good for 2. Drops down. Savage underneath will go by.
No.
Kaz trying to get a little bit too fast with the AWP. He will not connect. And that gives Savage an opportunity to go get onto this B bomb site. Pronto. Bombs being planted on the other side. Decon doors being opened up will not be too much of an issue. 9 will at least threaten it out. Savage still caught out in the open. Senzu even keeps the spray going. Mate, I don't think there's a transfer that works like that one, but hey, who knows?
Yeah, very nicely done by Team Mongolia here. Does get a little bit messy for a second, but they are able to clean it all up.
I have to say, I hate what they're doing with giving Kaz the op. It's ridiculous. I don't think it should be done. You've got 3 oppers who are better than him, and I understand that Kaz is struggling, and that's why they're trying to compensate for the idea that, hey, man, you know what? We give him the op. It's just 1 bullet to kill and everything. It's fine. Maybe this works out. But there's so much more efficacy you can get if it's in the hands of 9, if it's in the hands of Yami. Or just don't buy the op then. If they want a rifle.
You make the argument that, okay, they're handing it to Kaz because he's not having a great performance, right? But then, even according to that logic, Yami's not popping off right now. He needs to have that AWP so that he's fully enabled. With Kaz not having peeked into ramp as when there was a fight going on with Bartek being on top of the boost, it got a little scary. And with that coordination just not being there, things can definitely get a little tricky. Here it comes, though. Team Australia getting ready for the push straight out with the Tech 9s. Hats has been a menace. He gets the first kill, but a little too trigger happy, and the Tech 9 will not accommodate him.
4 players kept alive despite a great entry and a lot of space actually given up to Hats, like you mentioned. Just keeps the spray going, and the Tech 9, it gets difficult after the first few bullets. It does become a bit of a Valorant weapon where you're just hoping that it works out. Gump is not off to a great start, 0 and 5.
Yeah. And honestly, that was sort of a recurring theme for Gump. He's not really had a great performance in the entirety of this tournament.
Hey man, I know he's joined Team India over in the rest of the circuit. He doesn't have to join them on the scoreboard as well.
That's rough. That is harsh. Team India, if you're watching this, it was Tea Time that said it, not me.
No, that was well dated. In all fairness, if he had 1 kill, he'd be with Team Pakistan, right? So we're both downstairs, guys. It's okay. It's a party down here. Savage, though, partying it up. Back in ramp, Bartek taken down. They've been swapping out some of those positions here and there, but it does seem like Bartek will be the priority for ramp. Second player down and lower, though, might not be expected. Yami traded out Hats. Turning the corner 0-2 quickly.
Australia having solid control of the bottom site now. Bomb planted, but Senzu is able to respond and with a quick kill. Savage ready for 9 to peek out. How does 9 get away with it? There are 3 barrels trained on him. And now they know 9's position, but he still wants to try and flirt with this chaos. Swings out. Knows there's even a second player right around the corner, but look at the amount of space he's granting his team right now. He's got 2 players wrapped around his little finger, and Senzu will move in to kill them.
This is nuts. Mongolia are just reacting so quickly, and their individuals are so confident in their rotations that it just feels like even when Australia gets a good play, even when they get a good entry, when they clean it up into a 4v3 and whatnot, this literally goes from a 4v3 to a 3v0. For us, they don't lose a single player in that 4v3. And they need this timeout. And obviously, one of the things about Licky that obviously you mentioned was his elo. The thing that I've got to quickly bring up as well is Licky's actually got a fair bit of experience IGLing. He was the IGL for LFO and Encore as well, which were both respectively the, I think, arguably the third best teams of Australia at the time. And LFO also did have some time where they managed to play in Pro League and the like as well. So he has some experience on a very high level. You combine that with Hats, who was obviously in Renegades as his last really consistent team before he was removed from that roster. Savage, who obviously can't talk enough about with the story of the Australian scene. This is very much a situation where Licky is going to need to rack his brains, and his brains have said, let's go for a half buy down to about 1,500 a pop. We've got full loss bonus and we don't want up. So there is that to consider. But Bartek, pro gamer moves being made from LAN. He nades and he uses the sound of it to actually start moving through 9. Good for the one. He knows he only has to buy time. Senzu and Yami have already activated, and every single player on the T side is about to be in a hell lot of problems. Yami finds Savage, and it's just Gump left. A 1-on-3, the bomb is away from him, no utility either, and he's been spotted if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, and he still has yet to find a singular kill on the scoreboard.
I'm telling you, this is just a curse from him talking to you on day one.
I mean, I would hope not. I mean, it's okay if he got cursed by me. I just wouldn't want to bring it up. I just don't want the blame for it. Yeah,
he's waiting for the full wraparound, actually. Will Bartek be expecting this?
I mean, even if they don't, he doesn't really quite have the weaponry to get much done in the 30 seconds. I mean, yeah, maybe you can throw in a little bit of damage, but that's really all that he can hope for.
Yeah, but considering that Bartek's on $200, you know, Yami's on $1,650, sure, you've got Kaz and Senzu who are going to be touching that 9K mark right now.
We'll see. Gump, though, wanted to peek out now. Oh, that AK was just bait, wasn't it?
Greed right there. He needed to get a kill before he tried to go for the gun. It's so tempting, though, isn't it? Ooh, my chances of clutching are just going to go up if I have an AK. It's
as soon as he presses E on that, it just tells everyone and their mothers where he is, you know?
Gosh, imagine that. Senzu's mom just calls in. He's like, he's on squeaky.
He's squeaky.
That's a real coaching right there.
Mongolia, though, off to a very strong start, and I think we expected nothing else.
Focus as well, immediately tagged up as he's trying to make a beeline over to Vents. Will not actually be able to drop down, instead contain. Yami turns back around, flashes have been dodged, gets one, gets two! 9 is actually the one to collect on the second, and he's got a double of his own. It's going to be a Yami show as he's got util all over the place, but the fireworks won't matter. The fire is coming out of his teammates, his rifles. And Gump, how has he lost his gun? What?
What happened in between that reversal into Vents?
Gump's just not having a good time. He has found his first kill, at the very least. And an AWP, which
he's desperately trying to throw into the nuclear reactor.
Gump, this is...
Oh my god, this is not a good look.
Even Yami's just trying to push it back in as well. He's like, look, man, I feel bad for this guy.
Yeah, like,
he's not having a good day. He's having both his teams lose.
Can you even throw the AWP in the water?
I think you can. Maybe they passed that, but that used to be one of the places where you can actually dispose of weapons.
Fair enough.
Obviously, we've been joking about it, but it must also feel kind of bad that both of your teams, if you're Gump, are not having a good time.
That's harsh, but fair.
It's not his fault, but yeah, it just must feel bad, man. Australia completely contained, and you can see, oh my god, Yami just crouch peeking forward into a deagle?
Yeah, he doesn't even care. The confidence is there. And he's even doing it with a rifle, right? You know, we've talked about this guy's metal when it comes to the AWP, but it doesn't even matter to him at this point. He's just looking like a completely different demon. Yami was on, what, 41 kills when he was playing Inferno?
Yeah.
in overtime against Team Indonesia.
Oh my god, dude.
Yeah, this is...
Senzu is 12-1. Kaz will end up falling, and the
that's
AWP is
enough.
recovered. The upper bomb side is unoccupied. The CT is not here yet, but Yami, however, will rotate through. Quick double found to make it a 3 across the round, and Hats will, at the very least, cut down Senzu's KD in half. Oh,
And this is actually a reasonable chance. He's got 40 seconds on the clock. One of them is low, so could even fall victim to a potential leg.
He got the silent drop as well, so actually they might not be completely aware of how far he's gone forward. That Smoke should be giving it up though, and 9 will just wrap around and take him down. If he just tried to go for a kill, maybe the bomb plant, the silent drop could have really helped him out there, but it will not transpire.
And the crazy thing is, they've been doing this with Kaz on an AWP on a very op-heavy map when he's going 3-1-7, right?
Yeah, I mean it's not that op-heavy.
Maybe not that op-heavy, yes, but I mean, it can definitely be a solid difference maker, right? Obviously, like, nothing like Mirage or nothing like Inferno, but still.
Or Ancient, yeah.
So just a regular map. Okay, I retract my statement. I know when I've been humbled.
Look at how scared Australia are as well. They're just hoping that they can catch Mongolia off on some of these pushes that they've been going for. But that's exactly when the Mongolians decided, hey, freeze. We're not going anywhere. And the issue is that when you're trying to tunnel vision into Mongolia's game, you stop, and I'm going to say the most cliche thing there is in CS, you stop playing your own game, right? You're not going for the outside wall of smokes. You're not going for any sort of play out there. You're just trying to counter out what Mongolia is doing, and right now it's not working. Kaz now finds Savage, takes him down. Yami is still just hiding away from any flashes that could be coming through, and he's even looking to go through on his own. Hats' foot was seen. His shoes perhaps too big for that smoke. And Yami with the bomb down just wants to keep on going for more. Focus is reloading out in the open. What is going on here?
Australia's falling apart. The pressure of being against Mongolia as their do-or-die decider.
And by the way, this round difference matters. Let's not forget that.
Oh, yeah.
This is really important for them. Because if they get rocked and rolled down in like under 5, then Palestine doesn't even need to beat Indonesia. They just need to have some pride against them.
And with the little resurgence of form that Palestine had in their last game, I would expect them to play a lot better than they did in their first 2.
I'm just checking this one right now. Palestine is -9 in round difference before the game that they're going to play next. Australia was on 0 round difference. If Australia gets rocked and rolled and Palestine loses a close game, that's still going to be a Palestine all the way. Foggers finds Senzu, and 4 players kept alive again. Mongolia. This is absurd. This is insane. Even the half-buys from Australia just aren't finding kills, and you're not expecting them to get round wins, but you're not even getting kills.
Yeah, unfortunately, even some of the more experienced players on the side of Australia, you know, they're like Licky, for instance, he's not really able to put anything up on the board. Obviously, Gump and Fogger is kind of in the same boat. Gump more than anything, unfortunately. Double AWP now being brought out from Mongolia, so Yami's going to get a chance to flex his big AWP muscles. And they're going to play aggressive. They have 2 players peeking in, one in lobby, one in ramp, and I think he spotted a barrel there as well. Senzu will fall, but this is still quite a bit of space being gained by the AWPs as they start creeping up close.
Man advantage at the very least, Australia. Hell, man, at this point, even if you can get 4 rounds in this half, it's not the worst thing in the world, right? CT side nuke. Maybe there's a world, but they've lost that advantage. Yami gets so aggressive and then even moves back. He's got the shadow advantage as well, Yami! My God, they're not stopping.
What are you even supposed to do at this point? I think Yami wants to go for it. He can smell blood in the water. Oh! Nearly caught out by the second angle, but look at this. He's playing it like he's playing a rifle. He doesn't have a care in the world. This is reminiscent of when Mongolia just pulled all stops and they're like, you know what? We're going quadruple up against Indonesia. This is the same sort of attitude that they're now having against Team Australia. Bomb finally planted. Cause moves in though. Cause finds the second player and Vents, and the spam with the AK is good enough to put him in the grave. Mongolia, even with even with all the shoddy stuff they've been doing to just have fun, they're still dominating.
This is so cool just to see the individuals from Mongolia just like you said, saying whatever, we're gonna style on you now.
Because they've already qualified as well.
Yeah, I know. This is what you want to see from players, right? When you're when you're qualified, make it entertaining on your own, right? That's what you want to see coming out from them. And actually, Yami, right there, I just want to quickly point something out, which I just think is always so cool whenever it happens. He did the full silent drop-down vent with a full KZ airstrafe to try and make it so he can actually go for the pursuit from behind without giving away a sound cue. Then he comes back up with a fast climb and gets us out from the ladder jump. Dude, this guy's been hitting KZ mats.
Yami this time around, he's getting exploratory into secret. Spots one is only good for the one, but is still very quick. Gump now wanting to be a menace here on the A-bomb site, and he realizes that it's largely empty. The attention from the CT side all over towards the bottom bomb site. Fogger's now moving in from vent. There's the sound cue. There's 9 turning around, and that is a slap to the face. Savage does respond in kind, but this is still very doable with Mongolia getting another.
No bomb for Australia either. That's in the vents. Gump. All comes down to him, but he's actually going to be doubling up from inside secret. They are not wanting to risk the 1v1s. Obviously, jumping down vents is a suicide mission.
This is Bartak's domain now. He's gotten the bomb under his control, and he has been an absolute menace before. They're up against the AWP of Cause as well. Bartak peeks out. Bartak connects, and he's looking for more. You can tell that Australia, they are quivering in their boots right now, worried about every single duel because Mongolia have been an absolute demon in their entirety. Gump now has the chance to try and get a clutch, though, is able to get the opener, but he still needs to recover the bomb. 15 seconds remaining.
With a Molotov down, there is no way for Kaz to stop it. Both players who have struggled a little bit will now be competing with each other. Bomb's going to be planted in from behind the bomb site itself. Jump spot as well. Flashbang's not going to be able to actually blind him out. And it's a full peek forward from Kaz. He does not want to try and slow things down. Gump will collect Australia. Third round. Might not have been having the strongest game, but he has delivered at the very least. Reminiscent of Amin from Iran.
Yeah, I mean, he's only got 4 kills, but technically he's responsible for a third of the rounds they have.
33.3333 recurring percent. And again, I will reiterate, the rounds matter. For Australia, you need a few more at the bare minimum. Senzu, he's gone into the smoke when there's a player coming in from up above him. Gump has moved past, he's gone and found the kill on the 9. Senzu's trying to fight back, but it's a gap in the smoke that's working against him. Savage trying to turn the corner, he's got an AWP as well. Will not be going for the wallbang, instead he will want to go down secret.
Oh, is he lining up a wallbang or something?
No.
Is it possible from there?
I think it is with the ult, but I don't think he's lining up a wallbang. He must be worried about backup to be coming out. Yami's been taking that position a few times over, and Yami will be giving backup, but not quite that way. Or is he? Maybe it's just a read that's made too early.
Still a minute on the clock, and these players are just spread all over the map now. With the time ticking down, of course, the pressure is building up for Australia to try and make a move. Senzu's HP is obviously a big advantage for them, because Harry Rifle isn't going to get too much of a chance to survive, but obviously he's got the Medals of Honor from having already had 2 kills.
Oh my god, he's been watching for that for so long. He's literally been watching for that for 45 seconds.
And then he meets a no-scope. That, in my book, is a punch through the monitor.
I'm glad you're not playing. You're right, but I'm glad you're not playing.
Oh my god, Yami just feeling like an absolute smurf right now. Licky left alone in a 1-on-3. They're starting to cave in on him. He knows that they're coming for him, and they are not going to have any mercy.
Now he's 19-8.
Yeah.
Senzu 16-5. Mongolia is 11-3.
When you say Yami's 19-8, you mean feet and inches, right? Because he's a titan right now.
Yeah, man, this is just his height. 19 feet, 8 inches, and just muscle all the way. God, what do you even do at this point? Because you saw how scared Savage was, and Savage isn't supposed to be scared, right? He knew Senzu was low, he knew Senzu had backed off, and he doesn't chase, he doesn't try and go for it, he doesn't try and just get a wall bang or anything like it. He's so scared about a play from Yami that doesn't come till 45 seconds later.